Hello, listeners. If you've enjoyed these narrations, please click on that like and subscribe button. I fear the happy family dolls have turned against me. The dolls are no longer joyful like they used to be. All day, Popa sits in the library, his beady mechanical eyes watching the glow of the plastic fire. Occasionally, he picks up a black book that I'm certain contains no words, yet he reads it for hours on end. He doesn't go to the yard and play with Kip like when the dollhouse first arrived. As for Kip, he just lies in bed for hours at a time, staring at a mural Gretel painted on the ceiling. From time to time, he looks over at me. Perhaps he wants me to feel guilty, but I don't. The dolls needed to be taught a lesson. Yet sometimes, at night when I hear the scratching at the glass siding of the dollhouse, I can't help but feel afraid, and though I know I'm in the right, I find myself repeating the salesman's promise that enclosure is utterly unbreakable. This all started a few weeks ago. I'd been having trouble with my daughter, Tara. Throughout most of her life, even through high school, she was a model of obedience. Not to sing my own praises out loud, but it all comes down to parenting. I have always been strict but fair. I let her go to parties, even ones where I knew alcohol would be served, as long as she let me pick her up at 9 and never partook herself. I even let her date, as long as we agreed on the boy and kept the door to her room open during all of their visits. My own parents were zealots, and I promised I'd never be like them. In my youth, we would spend every Christmas in silent prayer, and my mother struck hard across the face the one time I made a present for my young brother. Don't even get me started on Halloween. Perhaps, though, I have been too permissive. It all started when she changed her major to anthropology, deviating from accounting, the practical choice in which we had both agreed on. Though I threatened to stop paying for her education, Tara stuck to her guns, and after several tearful phone calls, I had relented. For a few months, it seemed my good daughter was back, until Thanksgiving when she called to announce she'd been spending the holiday with her new girlfriend. The whole thing seemed like a desperate attempt to get under my skin. How could she possibly be choosing to spend the holiday with a girl she'd just met, and hadn't even mentioned in our numerous weekly calls, over the mother that had been her closest friend for 19 years? As soon as she hung up on me, I marched down to the bank and transferred the $14,000 I'd originally earmarked for winter quarters tuition over to my main account. I decided it was finally time to start putting myself first. Now, as I mentioned, I'd never gotten any Christmas presents growing up. Every January, I'd had to suffer through my friends' incentive stores about their new bikes, teddy bears, and dollhouses. It was the dollhouse that stung the most. I'd played with them at my friend's house a few times, imagining myself at one of the prettiest dolls, sitting in their lavish rooms with no parents around, always smiling. My own parents had refused to even let me make paper dolls, calling them grave images and abominations. Once, upon discovering a small collection of dolls, my father had made me hold the paper as he lit the top of them on fire. I'd had to hold the paper as it burnt down to the edges of my fingers, leaving me a singe that ached for weeks. And so when I saw the Happy Family dollhouse on sale at Tech Wizards, I could hardly peel my eyes off of it. The dolls were made of natural wood, yet wonderfully articulated at the joints. Even more impressively, each possessed a microchip and mechanical elements that allowed them to walk autonomously about their little dwelling. As I watched the tiny boy doll curling up with his father on a couch beside the fire and began to read a tiny book. As I read the display, I tried to make sense of the various features. The world's first AI dollhouse, fully capable of adapting to your playstyle. Meet the Happy Family: Popa, Mama, Gretel, and Kip, each customizable with up to 5 different personalities to create thousands of unique family dynamics. fully upgradable with other happy AI products. "You're extremely lucky to find this one in stock," said a short, portly man with a too-tight red polo shirt and a name tag reading Douglas. "This shipment just hit the floor. I'm expecting the scalpers to show up any minute." I checked the price tag. $29.99. "Trust me, resale on these things is twice that," he said. I thought of Tara, driving with her new lover off to Thanksgiving. "I'll take it, and any accessories you have in stock," I said. "Want to include a 5-star setup with your tech wizard Red Mage, aka me, for an extra $199? "Why not? I've been thinking of burning this money in my pocket for a while." Setting up the house, I felt like a child again, sitting in the dark of my bedroom, quietly cutting paper dolls as my parents slept. I had Douglas put the house on a table in the corner of my room. I had sprung for the deluxe upgrade, a 3-story manor that included chrome plating on the fixtures and boasted extra rooms like a tiny movie theater and a game room for the children. As Douglas plugged it in, tasteful backlight, false windows that gave the appearance of a sunny summer day. Next, we began configuring the doll's personality through an app on my iPhone. I started with Popa. Select one: Mr. Perfect, the Oaf, Grumpy Gus, Worker Bee, or the Brute. "What utter nonsense," I told Douglas. "Why would anybody pick the Oaf or the Brute?" "Those two are more popular than you'd think. Like, think Homer Simpson for Oaf, or the guy from Streetcar named Desire for the Brute." I just decided to pick for Mr. Perfect and moved on through the rest of the family. Each one had similar ludicrous options. I picked various sorts of perfect for all 4 members. Once my selection were complete, a large button appeared that read "Awake." I pushed it. All at once, a jolly tune began to play, and each one of the dolls sat up in bed, being perfect. They each immediately sprang to life, full of purpose and determination, straightening their pillows and comforts before changing out of their pajamas with great focus. "It's pretty cool, right?" said Douglas. I nodded and told him he could be on his way. I must admit, I spent the first few days utterly transfixed on the little family. The happy family's days progressed at 24 times human speed, so that each happy day took exactly 1 hour. And oh, how many they packed in. Mama was quite the homemaker, preparing elaborate plastic meals, roasts, sweets, and stews whose smell filled the bedrooms thanks to the patterned happy mist technology. Sweet Girdle was always around to lend a hand, cleaning dishes and setting plates at the dining room table. She was also a prolific artist, creating dozens of miniature paintings, most of a bright red bird. Even little Kip contributed, bringing in bouquets of flowers from the garden and cleaning up after Tuki's droppings. Of course, I had sprung for the dog. In the meantime, Popa spent most of his days in his office. It turns out that the extra cycles he generates while at work on his miniature laptop were actually used to mine cryptocurrency that Happy then donated to real families in need. It was nice to feel that I was doing some good in the world, just by owning the dolls. The dolls kept mostly to themselves, but occasionally turned their attention to me. One day I caught myself singing along to a song on the radio and turned to see them watching me. As the song ended, the dolls clapped enthusiastically. Then Girdle walked over to her laptop and typed a brief message, which printed out on a ticketer by the side of the house. "Your songs fill us with joy." Physically, the dolls and I almost never interacted. Most routine maintenances took place in their bed while they were doing their sleep cycles, and they could perform their own wardrobe changes and personal hygiene. On the rare occasion where I did need to physically touch the dolls, there was a fairly elaborate protocol. Once when Kip accidentally touched a bit of superglue that Popa was using to make a rocking chair in his workshop, I had to take him out, Using the app, I put Kip into maintenance mode, causing him to walk zombie-like over to the small elevator in the house's utility closet. Then after inputting a PIN and password, I had to click through several boxes from Happy's lawyers, agreeing to God knows what. Finally, the elevator came to life and lifted Kip out of the dollhouse chimney. As I took him in hand, I was surprised by both how heavy he felt, but also how fragile. I ran my fingers across his tiny legs, no thicker than a pencil, and marveled at his design. It was a feeling I hadn't experienced since holding Tara when she was first born. All the while I handled Kip, Papa, Mama, and Girdle watched me nervously. As I dissolved the glue on Kip's hand with the acetone and returned him to the house, Mama sent a message. "You are a signal fire in the darkness. May your light ever shine." "Thank you. Same to you," I had told her. The doll pressed their little hands on the glass enclosure, and I did the same on my side. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I had a family again. Unfortunately, things in the real world weren't quite as smooth. Tara called a few days after Thanksgiving, mentioning a threatening email from the Bureau's office. Her tuition check is now past due. I calmly explained that she had to make the decision to start a secret life without me, and she can ignore me on Thanksgiving, so she should be more than capable of scrounging up a few measly thousands of dollars to pay for school. Perhaps this new romantic partner of her and her parents could help. Tara said several dark words that could not have been taken back. She also diagnosed me as being a controlling narcissistic. In response, I asked her if she perhaps changed her major again and was now going into psychology, which seemed to me much more likely to lead to an actual employment. She hung up. As I finished the conversation, I looked over and realized the dolls were watching me. Then Mama walked over to the computer and wrote a small message. "Remember, kindness always. Family is everything." I pressed my face up to the glass to make sure she could hear me. "That's easy for you to say. Your family is perfect. And don't ever speak to me about my daughter again." I'm sorry to say that my relationship with the dolls went south from there. As we approached the holidays, their habits began to irritate me. They had been programmed not to celebrate Christmas, but instead had a priority of religious development. Instead of Christmas music, the dolls sang melancholy songs, and rather than a cross, they hung Girdle's painting of the Mother Phoenix, who brings new life to the world. At dinner, I'd find myself eating alone in front of the TV, volume turned to max to drown out the sound of their sorrowful caroling. Soon I was blasting Christmas music right next to the little house. Even as the dolls attempted their sleep cycle, they slept restlessly and dragged themselves through their days. They still sang their awful hymns, but a bit less joyfully. "Please, we must all share this house in peace," wrote Papo. I shook my head. "This is my house, and we will follow my rules, or there will be consequences." The next day, things got out of hand. I woke to find a mural of Mother Phoenix painted over the entirety of Girdle's bedroom wall. I had done my best to tolerate the doll's beliefs thus far, but this was over the line, a clear attempt to get a rise out of me. And well, she had succeeded. I opened the app and put Girdle into maintenance mode. Dutifully, she ambled to the elevator. "What are you doing?" wrote Popa. "Girdle is not compromised. Removing her is not allowed." "Not allowed? This is my house. You are my dolls. I'll do whatever I want." I tried to calm myself, but I couldn't. Originally, I'd merely intended to hurt Girdle in some small way, but my temper got the better of me. I lay her half asleep on the floor as she looked up at me, her eyes in a mix of horror and confusion. Then I took her by the feet and smashed her hard against the floor, again and again until her wooden body cracked, revealing a tender metal skeleton. As I did, the rest of the family was in ruins. Kip threw his tiny body against the glass, trying to get it to his sister. Mama knelt in prayer, and Popa kept writing messages. "Please stop. This can still be saved." I walked up to him, Girdle's tiny twisted skeleton in hand. "One more word, and your boy is next." Throughout the rest of the day, Mama, Popa, and Kip held each other and wept. I have to admit I felt a little bad about letting my temper get the best of me, but Girdle had brought it on herself after all. I dug a 2-inch grave in the potted plant by the dollhouse and laid Girdle's pieces inside. Then I formed a cross with toothpicks and tape and used it to mark her burial place. The dolls did not seem to take this well. "This is sacrilege. She must be burned and offered to the Mother Phoenix." "You will learn your place," I had told him. I was considering further punishment when the phone rang and I got distracted. It was Tara, calling this time to tell me she'd taken a bus to California, but had now gotten into a massive fight with her girlfriend and was sitting all alone in Starbucks. "Please, Mom, just tell me what to do. The credit card isn't working anymore and I'm totally out of cash." I'd almost laughed. That's right, I'd canceled the card the previous day. I'd been so busy with the dolls I'd almost forgotten. "I'm a little busy at the moment. I'm dealing with some family issues." "What are you talking about? You don't have any other family." "I'm sorry, sweetie. I need to go." I hung up and felt a smile come to my face. I suppose this was Tara's way of apologizing, and I was proud of her. Still, I felt too soon to scoop in like Mama Hen and send her money for a bus ride home. Tara was a big girl. She could handle herself for a couple more days. I was smiling ear to ear, relishing my victory when I heard a buzzing from the dollhouse. I looked over to find Popa attempting to drill through the glass with his tools from the word shop. Part of me wanted to laugh, but for the first time I felt a genuine bit of fear. Of course, Popa's plan was fruitless, but the fact that he wanted to get out was troubling. What was he planning to do to me if he did get loose? For a moment I considered simply pulling the plug on the whole thing. Maybe I could even get my money back. But where was the lesson there? The dolls would basically be getting their own way. No, this was a teaching moment, and I was here to teach them. And so for a few hours I let them mope. Popa brooding, Mama praying, Kip staring, children all of them, waiting for me to break first, to fall to my knees. I wanted to laugh. Did Noah and Job ask God for an apology? And so I sat down and prepared a small speech, kindly inviting the dolls to sit and listen, and then finally informing them that I'd rip their dog to pieces if they didn't. You were supposed to be the perfect family, but I can see now that you're as broken as the rest of us. What happened to Girdle was tragic, but it's also a chance for you to learn and grow. If we're to continue living together, you'll have to learn to follow my orders. You see, there is no Mother Phoenix. That's all just some story the tour makers made up. Here in this house, I am your God, and you will follow my will. Your lives are eternal, and your box is inescapable. It can be a prison or a home. The choice is up to you. And then I turned out the light and went to bed. As I tried to sleep, I must admit, I couldn't stop shaking. From time to time I heard odd scraping sounds emitting from the house, and I had to remind myself I was perfectly safe. Not once did I get out of bed. I refused to let them see my fear. They can't get out. I repeated again and again. They'll be in the house for all eternity. I woke the next day with a pit in my stomach and a dull taste in my mouth. Even before I looked at the dollhouse, I could tell something was wrong. I found the dolls lying in a peculiar pattern, their overstretched arms and legs forming what appeared to be a star. In the center of their entangled limbs sat Popa's black book and one of Girdle's paintings of the Mother Phoenix. The dolls did not move, their lifeless eyes staring up at the ceiling. That's when I noticed something odd by the potted plant. The toothpick cross was toppled over on its side and the earth beneath it disturbed. I reached in with my fingers, unburying Girdle's body, but all I could find were wooden pieces. The metal skeleton was gone. Looking closer, I saw a line of dirt coming out of the grave and leading across the room towards my bed. Dirty smudges stained the sheets, leading right up to my pillow. Right away I knew where she was. Inside of me. I was at her mercy now, and I could hear something. One of the worst hymns of all. The birth song of the Mother Phoenix. It is echoing somewhere from in deep inside my throat. I know that Girdle could strike at any minute, working her way to any organ, piercing my liver, my lungs, or even my heart. But she doesn't. She is sitting and waiting somewhere inside, letting me feel what it's like to be under her power. I find myself calling Tara's cell phone over and over again. Each time it goes to voicemail. I leave messages, and at some point, I'm not sure if they're for Tara or Girdle. For the first time I can remember, maybe ever, I find myself repeating, "I'm sorry."